Have you ever stood in a room full of people, yet felt like your heart was the only one beating alone? There was once a heart that believed love was something you had to chase. It believed that if it tried harder, spoke softer, waited longer, sacrificed deeper, someone would finally turn around and say, "You are enough." That heart was yours. You gave your time like it was endless. You gave your loyalty like it was free. You gave your affection like it was air. And yet, somehow, you still felt invisible. The messages became shorter. The warmth became colder. The effort became one-sided. And you began asking yourself the most dangerous question a heart can ask: why am I not lovable enough? When you feel unloved, the silence becomes heavy. You replay memories like old love songs, wondering where the music changed. You analyze every word you said. Every moment you weren't perfect. Every time you were too much, or not enough. And slowly, you start shrinking, hoping smaller versions of you will finally fit into someone else's comfort zone. But love was never meant to be begged for. Love is not proven by how much pain you can endure. It is not measured by how long you can tolerate neglect. It is not validated by how much you sacrifice your own needs. The day you feel unloved is not the day you question your worth. It is the day you question the table you are sitting at. Because sometimes, you are not unloved. You are simply surrounded by people who do not know how to love deeply. And in that realization, something powerful begins. Instead of chasing reassurance, you begin returning home to yourself. You start speaking to your heart gently. You take yourself out for quiet walks. You rediscover the parts of you that existed before you tried to earn someone's affection. You remember that your laughter once filled rooms without permission. You remember that your dreams once burned brightly without anyone's approval. Feeling unloved is painful, yes. But it is also revealing. It reveals who shows up when you are silent. It reveals who notices your absence. It reveals who loves you without conditions. And most importantly, it reveals how you have been loving yourself. Because the greatest love story you will ever experience is not the one where someone finally chooses you. It is the one where you choose yourself first. When you stop chasing love, something extraordinary happens. You become magnetic, not because you are trying harder, but because you are no longer begging. And one day, someone will meet you who does not make you question your worth. Someone whose love feels safe. Someone who sees your heart and does not treat it like an option. But until that day comes, you must become the love you have been searching for. Sit with yourself. Forgive yourself. Protect yourself. Because the truth is, you were never unloved. You were simply loving the wrong place with the right heart. There is a particular kind of silence that does not sound like peace. It sounds like distance. It sounds like a phone that no longer lights up the way it used to. It sounds like conversations that once lasted for hours shrinking into dry, careful replies. And when you feel unloved, that silence becomes louder than any argument ever could. At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself they are busy. You tell yourself love does not always need constant words. You convince your heart to be patient. But patience slowly turns into waiting, and waiting slowly turns into wondering. You begin to notice the pauses. The delayed responses. The missing warmth in their tone. Even when they speak, something feels absent, as if their words are physically present but emotionally somewhere else. Silence begins to echo in your mind. You replay the last happy memory like a fragile treasure. You scroll through old messages searching for proof that the love was real. You read, "I miss you," from weeks ago and wonder what changed. You ask yourself if you did something wrong. Maybe you were too emotional. Maybe you asked for too much reassurance. Maybe you loved too loudly. And that is when silence becomes dangerous. Because when someone stops expressing love clearly, your mind starts filling the gaps with self-doubt. You start narrating stories that blame you. You start shrinking your needs so you won't seem needy. You convince yourself that asking for affection is weakness. So instead of speaking, you grow quiet too. Now there are two silences in the relationship. Theirs, and yours. You sit next to them and feel miles apart. You talk, but the connection feels thin. You smile, but it does not reach your eyes. The room feels heavier than before, even though nothing dramatic has happened. No fight, no breakup, just a slow fading. When silence feels louder than words, it is not because there are no sounds. It is because there is no reassurance, no warmth, no emotional presence. And the human heart was not designed to survive on uncertainty. It needs to feel chosen. It needs to feel seen. It needs to feel wanted. There comes a fragile moment in every love story where the heart senses distance and panics. It feels the shift. The warmth is not as steady. The attention is not as intentional. And instead of stepping back, the heart leans forward. It tries harder. It gives more. It loves louder. Because somewhere deep inside, it believes effort can fix fading feelings. This is where begging quietly begins. Not always with words like, "Please don't leave," but with actions. You start over-explaining yourself so they won't misunderstand you. You apologize for things that were never your fault. You lower your standards just to keep the peace. You silence your own needs because you're afraid that asking for reassurance will push them further away. You become extra patient, extra understanding, extra available. You reply instantly, hoping responsiveness will make you irreplaceable. You rearrange your schedule to fit theirs. You accept crumbs of attention and convince yourself it's enough. When they give you the smallest sign of affection, you hold onto it like proof that the love is still alive. But love should not feel like survival. Begging for love slowly transforms you. It teaches you to ignore your intuition. It teaches you that your worth depends on someone else's mood. It makes you believe that if you just become more lovable, more attractive, more calm, more agreeable, they will return to who they used to be. And in that transformation, you begin losing yourself. You stop speaking freely. You measure every word. You fear being too much. You tolerate emotional distance because at least it is not abandonment. You start thinking that fighting for love means enduring anything. But love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love. It is fear disguised as devotion. The danger of begging is not rejection. The real danger is self-betrayal. It is looking in the mirror one day and realizing you no longer recognize the person staring back. You gave away your voice. You gave away your boundaries. You gave away your confidence. And the saddest part is that the more you beg for love, the less natural it becomes. Because love that is real does not need to be chased down, convinced, or negotiated. There is a quiet turning point in every wounded heart's journey. It does not happen loudly. There is no dramatic announcement. It happens in a soft, almost invisible decision, the moment you get tired of chasing someone else's affection and start wondering what it would feel like to give that same devotion to yourself. Returning home to yourself is not about becoming cold. It is not about pretending you never cared. It is about redirecting the energy you poured into someone else back into your own spirit. For so long, your days revolved around them. Their mood determined your peace. Their attention determined your happiness. Their validation determined your worth. You woke up thinking about what you could do to make them feel closer. You slept wondering why they felt so far away. And somewhere in between, you drifted away from yourself. Returning home begins with small acts. You sit alone without reaching for your phone. You take a walk not to clear your mind of them, but to reconnect with your own thoughts. You ask yourself questions you've been avoiding. What do I need? What have I been tolerating? Why did I accept less than I deserved? It feels unfamiliar at first. Almost uncomfortable. Because you became so used to prioritizing someone else's feelings that your own emotions feel foreign. But slowly, gently, you start listening. You remember the hobbies you once loved. The friends you slowly distanced yourself from. The dreams you placed on hold while trying to maintain a connection that was slipping away. You start rebuilding the relationship that matters most, the one between you and your own heart. You begin setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of respect for yourself. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing clarity from someone who offers confusion. You start valuing your time, your energy, your emotional space. Returning home to yourself is not selfish. It is sacred. It is realizing that your heart deserves consistency. It deserves care. It deserves the same tenderness you were willing to give so freely to someone else. And in this quiet rebuilding, you start feeling something you haven't felt in a long time, stability within your own presence. There was a time when you believed love meant merging completely. You thought devotion meant dissolving your edges, softening your opinions, adjusting your personality until it perfectly matched theirs. You believed that the closer you became to someone, the less space you were allowed to take. So you gave up small pieces of yourself in the name of harmony. You agreed when you wanted to disagree. You stayed quiet when something hurt you. You changed your routines, your preferences, even your dreams to make the relationship feel smoother. And at first, it felt noble. It felt romantic. Sacrifice looked like proof of love. But slowly, almost invisibly, you began disappearing. Loving without losing yourself is a different kind of courage. It means showing up fully, not edited, not minimized, not reshaped for comfort. It means understanding that real love does not require you to shrink to be accepted. When you love without losing yourself, you still care deeply. You still compromise. You still listen. But you do not abandon your boundaries to keep someone from walking away. You do not silence your needs just to avoid conflict. You do not dim your light so they can feel brighter. You learn that love is not about becoming less. It is about becoming secure enough to remain whole while sharing your heart. This kind of love requires emotional strength. It asks you to say, "This is who I am," without fear. It asks you to express discomfort without apologizing for having feelings. It asks you to trust that the right person will not be threatened by your independence. When you stop losing yourself in love, something shifts inside you. You no longer feel desperate to hold on. You no longer fear every disagreement as a potential ending. You understand that if someone cannot accept you fully, their departure is not your failure. Love should expand you, not erase you. It should add warmth to your life, not take away your identity. It should feel like two complete souls walking beside each other, not one disappearing to maintain the illusion of togetherness. And when you begin loving this way, you carry both your heart and your dignity at the same time. For so long, you waited for someone to arrive with the kind of love that would finally make everything make sense. You imagined a person who would speak gently to your insecurities, who would reassure you without being asked, who would choose you without hesitation. You pictured a love that felt safe, steady, undeniable. And while waiting, you kept looking outward. You searched for signs in messages. You searched for comfort in someone's arms. You searched for certainty in promises. Every time you felt unloved, you hoped someone else would be the remedy. Someone else would fill the empty spaces. Someone else would prove that you were worthy all along. But the most powerful shift happens when you turn that longing inward. Becoming the love you've been waiting for means offering yourself the reassurance you once begged for. It means speaking kindly to yourself when your thoughts grow harsh. It means telling yourself, "You are enough," even when no one else says it. It means holding your own heart with patience instead of criticism. You start taking care of your emotional needs instead of postponing them. You rest when you are tired instead of pushing through to impress someone. You validate your feelings instead of dismissing them. You create routines that nurture your peace. You surround yourself with people who reciprocate your energy instead of draining it. You become protective of your time, protective of your softness, protective of your standards. When you become the love you've been waiting for, you no longer approach relationships from desperation. You approach them from abundance. You no longer seek someone to complete you. You seek someone to complement you. You are not looking for rescue, you are looking for resonance. This transformation does not make you cold. It makes you grounded. It makes you secure enough to love freely because your sense of worth is no longer fragile. You stop fearing abandonment because you know you will never abandon yourself. And in choosing yourself every day, in honoring your needs, in respecting your heart, you quietly become everything you once searched for in someone else.